Hello guys, and welcome back to Leah's Lifestyle. Today, for another book club, we are starting a new book. We got Payback Time by Phill. This is the last of the Phill books. So won't be too much long before we move on to our next one. I'm going to give everyone who's finding this on YouTube a week to get a hold of their book if last week was not enough. So I'm just going to be reading out loud the... what is it? Like the forewords and like notes to readers and stuff like that. I took notes on it over the last week, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of research and creating my little summary. And next week we will go over chapter 1. So that way that gives you plenty of time to catch up and get any reading maybe that from the last book if you haven't finished that, and to start this book and to find it and get it together. So without further ado, let's jump right into it and read this baby. I didn't realize that in the front of it says Payback Time Workshop Scholarship. Congratulations for purchasing your and reading Payback Time. I'm rewarding you and get a guest with a full tuition scholarship of $2,995 each to attend an upcoming Payback Time workshop absolutely free. All you have to do is take action. So that's something, if you get the book, that you can do. So there is 9 chapters, so this is going to take us about 10 weeks to get through. Note to reader. I'll be using a lot of examples in this book that include numbers, such as stock prices, growth percentages, earnings per share, etc. These numbers were accurate when I wrote this book, but companies routinely update their financial information, including even historical data, so they probably won't reflect the actual current numbers as you read this. Don't let that affect your learning experience. My purpose in using these figures is simply to provide examples that'll teach you how to perform these analyses yourself. The specific number in the examples don't matter. The principles I'm teaching do. So, a big thing is that I'm gonna actually be going through. That's why I'm doing it differently. And the first book, Rule 1, I just read it straight to you guys. And the second book, Invested, I read the book beforehand, took some highlighted notes, and then we wrote down the notes together. This time I'm going to be reading it, taking my notes, and doing some research. And then I think that's going to probably be the way, if I enjoy it, we do the rest of the books from here on out. So don't worry too much about the numbers. I'll be figuring that out for you guys. I also mentioned and analyzed several specific companies in these pages, but please don't take that to mean I'm telling you to buy or sell them. Again, these are used as examples only, and their purpose is not to tell you what to buy, but to show you how you can figure out for yourself what you should be investing in. In fact, please use this book as a tool to change your financial future from potential poverty to riches. You can start by reading carefully and taking notes in the margin. Dog-ear the pages and review extra examples at paybacktimebook.com. Also, I want all of you to do this. Write me an email. Tell me what your situation is and where you'd like some help. I'll write you back with ideas and resources. Here's my email address, Phill@paybacktimebook.com. Let's get a conversation going and help change some lives. Very interesting. I like that. I might actually do that. Here's the introduction. The road from rule number 1 to payback time. Stand up to your obstacles and do something about them. You will find that they haven't half the strength you think they have. Norman Vincent Peale. I'm about to teach you the very best strategy for investing. The one strategy worth pursuing regardless of how much time, money, and effort you think you have available. No, it's not as simple as handing your money over to some fund manager who'll you'll probably lose it. Yes, it does require that you actually do something, but what I'm going to get you to do is so easy that yes, even you can handle it. Even if you've never invested in your life, even if you can't stomach math or researching companies, even if the thought of beating the market and realizing staggering returns of 15, 20, or 25% or more, yes, even in volatile markets, seems impossible and you don't want to try. Let's start by getting something straight. The reason I've been able to make a whole pile of money starting with nothing is that my approach is the same one that's been making people rich in all kinds of markets for the last 100 years. Because I learned from the fundamentals of solid investing, I've survived all the crazy market swings, including the recent one that began in 2008. In fact, on August 17th, 2007, I appeared on CNBC and told you point blank to get out of the stock market the next day. And I was right. On March 9th, 2009, the Dow fell below 6,600. And I sent an email that evening to Maria Bartiromo and CNBC, many Skiffers and Kiplinger, and to my blog followers that said it was time to load up the truck right again. We'll pull out of this economic crisis eventually, no matter how badly we handle it, because eventually we always get back to basics of a society that creates the most wealth for the most people. We're experiencing the down part of the cycle. Government get too loose with credit and too productive towards people with bad credit. People got to thinking real estate can't go down. Bankers got too clever with derivatives and leverages worldwide, and in a nutshell, we were on a binge for 20 years. We overflated. Now we're going to contract the economic balloon. We've been through it before, and some of us always think there is no tomorrow. Warren Buffett described it as an economic Pearl Harbor and suggested we do what we did then, everything possible, and we will. But we're at war economically, and the impact of the government meddling in the market is going to be painful for a lot of people. What I want to do is make sure you're not one of them. Investors who take the correct action now will come out of the other side in 10 or 20 years really, really rich. Making that happen for yourself starts with knowing the rules. Every successful investor I know, whether an active trader or a long-term investor, follows the same 2 rules of investing. Rule number 1, don't lose money. And rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. My first book, Rule Number 1, appeared in the number 1 position in the New York Times bestseller list and has been translated into 14 languages. Folks like investing guru Jim Cramer and SEC chairman Arthur Levitt were nice enough to recommend it. In that book, I provided a straightforward explanation of how good investors use specific fundamentals to fund the value of business. I also presented a few technical tools investors can use to avoid losing money, and in doing so, make millions, and in some cases, billions. There is, however, work involved. Being an active investor is a discipline that, like dieting or getting into good physical shape, has a huge payoff, but does require effort and steadfast decisions. You wouldn't believe the number of people who read about dieting or working out or investing, but don't actually do it. Okay, you would believe it. I can't do anything about making you stick less food in your mouth or dropping to the floor for some push-ups and then dashing out the door for a run. But I can do quite a lot about motivating you to do your own investing, getting you to do what you know you should but can't quite. And you probably have a sense that these days it's more imperative than ever to learn how to take charge of your investments. Our entire financial system has nearly melted down and, in the process, created great problems for the average person's financial future. You know it. It's critical to do something today to secure your retirement later, because what you've been doing just hasn't, worked. Most of the people I meet nowadays don't even want to talk about their retirement funds because they don't know if their money will be there when they need it. They are often stunned when I start sharing with them the facts about how those funds are managed, as well as the simple solution to a great retirement completely within their reach. Solutions that can make them rich in very little time. You could be starting with close to $0 today in a horrible stock market. Apply what I teach you in this book and have a bundle of money in 10 years to do whatever. Maybe you won't be ready to retire just yet, but you'll want money for other things, like paying for your kids' higher education, starting a small business, or buying a dream vacation home, and taking more time off from work. I'm not here to tell you what to do with your riches as long as you keep investing your money the way I'm going to teach you. The goal is to continue to grow your retirement money and have plenty extra to play with between now and the day you actually do decide to walk away from the working force, and to do what with less risk than you are taking now. How great would that be? All it takes is a willingness to embrace a style of investing that your fund managers, who probably just lost you a ton of money, cannot. And you have to accept that no one can do this for you. You must do it yourself. Here are a few truths that might surprise you. I'll explain all these later in this book. For now, I just hope they'll prompt you to take what I'm teaching seriously. Fact: mutual fund managers get rich at your expense, stealing as much as 60% or more of your returns over your lifetime through fees. Fact: the average individual will need more than $3 million to be financially independent in retirement in 20 years and won't get there with mutual funds, not even close. Fact: 96% of fund managers can't equal the historical market average return of 8% per annum. When the market goes down, they go down with it, no matter how low risk their funds are supposed to be. Pokemonizer, good day, my lady. Good day, good sir. Another fact of the matter is that opportunities abound during volatile markets. This book will give you the intellectual foundation for getting rich during any type of market climate, but particularly during unstable sideways markets, which can last for years, even decades, as millions of people agonize over diminished or obliterated retirement funds, wondering what happened to their money and whether or not they will ever be able to get it all back. I offer you hope and a realistic solution for moving forward. Contrary to what you might think, the time has never been better for making millions in the stock market if you know how. The strategy detailed in my first book, Rule Number 1, starts with Rule Number 1 principle, but success is anchored in an active trading. The strategy explains in this book book is about active investing, how to properly buy and hold a stock. I call this investing strategy stockpiling, because it's about how and when to accumulate a wonderful business while the price is going down. The combination of Rule Number 1 principles with the tactic of stockpiling stocks is the winning ticket to a rich life, particularly now. In fact, this time tests approach is investing is exactly how the best investors in the world turn a down market into an up portfolio. The richest people in America use the strategies as their basic way of making billions, even if they prefer to keep it a secret. It's time you learn how to do it, and then go do it yourself. Follow what I teach you, and you will overthrow the financial industry that failed you, and seize the investing opportunity of a lifetime. The only school of successful investing. I was taught by a man I admiringly call the Wolf, a successful investor I got to know really well after I nearly killed him along with my entire raft of whitewater adventurers in the Grand Canyon in 1980. I was a river guide then, making $4,000 a year, until he got a hold of me and dragged me into the world of investing. Understand that at that time, I'd been living more or less in a sleeping bag for 13 years, 3 years in the Army, and 10 more in the Grand Canyon as a guide. But I'd just gotten married, and the prospect of raising a family on $4,000 a year was not all that thrilling to my wife. I was expected to make money, enough for things like a house, for instance. The idea of living under a roof was novel enough to me at the time. Actually, buying the roof? Phew, baby, that was hard to get my head around. And then along came the Wolf. They say timing is everything, and in my case, They are right. My mentor found me at the perfect moment, and then he proceeded to drill into me, my thick head, the basic secrets of successful investing. The high return and high risks are not necessarily related, that I should want the highest return on my investments with the lowest risk, and that the way to achieve that was to copy the people who have already done it. I got that. I got that loud and clear. And in 5 years, after starting with just $1,000, I was a millionaire with a house looking over the ocean in Del Mar, California. Since then, I've made a lot more money, lost some when I started getting clever and investing in things I didn't understand, and made it all back and then some by returning to the good old rule number 1. Don't lose money, which is why I told the world to get out of this market when it was hovering at 13,000. The great trick of investing isn't so much about making good money, it's keeping it. And turns out that over the long term, any time period beyond about 10 years, the investors who get the consistently high returns, the folks who actually keep their high returns, and just keep getting richer all the time, almost all come from the same basic school of investing. Back in the 1930s, the original home base for this school was New York City, but in about 1960, it moved to Omaha, Nebraska, where it is currently located. Its original promoter was Ben Graham, a successful investor, an author, and a professor at Columbia University. The current head guru of this school is Mr. Graham's student, Warren Buffett, who used what Ben Graham taught him to become one of the richest people in the world. Other students of the school include thousands of successful amateur investors and hundreds of professionals who regardlessly clobber the stock market for their usually very rich clients over the long haul. This school of investing teaches you how to get the highest return for the least risk of any strategy you can name. Stockpile your way to riches. In my first book, Rule Number 1, I taught you how to do a quick analysis on a business, find its value, and then trade it with the help of teaching tools. Think of the book as a prequel to Rule Number 1. When I wrote that book, I thought I could teach investing without focusing on the fundamentals of stockpiling. I was wrong. You need this. In fact, I'm now of the opinion that, for most of you, it will be all you need to make millions and retire rich. The readers of Rule Number 1 have taught me that doing this on your own can be scary, not because the techniques are hard, but because you're going to do it. You've got to ignore the lies the financial service industry is telling you. As much as my readers and students want to be better investors, they are continually bombarded with advertisements and TV shows that tell them they can't do this on their own. That is too hard, too complicated, that we should leave it to the experts. There are bestsellers written every year that prove to you no one, not even Mr. Buffett, has beaten the market, and therefore there's no reason for you to try. King Mold! My net worth dropped 30,000 if the stock market dips recently. Yeah. That's completely understandable. I feel like we're getting, I said this in 2016 that like a drop was going to be coming soon, but I think we're actually now seeing the tilt here shortly. We will see it. I'm kind of excited because this is the first time where I have enough knowledge to be able to do something, but I'm also nervous because I have been unsuccessful with retaining money to put into it when it happens. So wish me luck. I wish you luck. These ads, books, and shows are wrong, and they are not just mistaken. They're lying to you. They know that good investors beat the market all the time. It's an inescapable fact. But what is at stake is so huge that reality is not going to be allowed to intervene. What is at stake is no less than the 100 billion transfer of wealthy annual from your pocket to theirs. Countries have gone to war and millions have died for far less wealth than that. Don't think for a second it isn't possible for an entire industry to warp reality in order to justify taking in that kind of money. Seriously. I'm excited for you. You can enjoy the highs and lows of the stock market. I know, for the first time in my life. I'm 31 now, but hey, you know what? We all have our time frame. I'm still kicking myself because I totally recognized that Bitcoin was going to be a big thing when I was in high school, and then I was like, nah, I don't gamble. It was probably smart. I wouldn't probably have sold it at a good time anyways. With that kind of money, it's possible to shout over anyone who is out there telling you that you can invest on your own. With that kind of money, you can hire the best PR firms and the best ad agencies, the best lawyers. You can hire authors. You can create bestsellers. You can have your guy on TV all day long on talk shows. You can come to define reality for millions, and that's exactly what the financial service industry has done. It's the lie they're going to keep selling even after the economic disaster their so-called experts have helped created. Trust me, they're going to do whatever they have to do to keep investing your money. They don't want you doing this on your own. They want you to keep you a captive client. They want you ignorant about the truth of investing. They want your money to keep coming in. After writing rule number 1, I have been to see how hard it is for people to break away from the clutches of mutual funds and managed IRAs and 401k plans. Never mind that the system is set up as if it were for your benefit, but actually results in guaranteed poverty if you manage to live more than about 70 years after retirement. But, by the way, that's your poverty, not theirs, yours. They get rich on your money. They should. They took about 60% of it. I'll explain how this happens in chapter 2. But let's be fair. Surely not all those in mutual fund industries have blood on their hands. Surely there is some reason to believe mutual funds are a reasonable alternative for individual investors. There are some funds that do very well, right? Well, 4% roughly beat the market. But if the market lost 40% of your money, those funds could have lost 39% and still beaten it. What good is that to you? I did an analysis to see how many fund managers could achieve a consistent 50% return over 10 years. Out of 5,900 board market funds, 3 managed a consistent 15% return. That's right, 3, or 0.05% of those funds. This is probably the reason Warren Buffett does not endorse mutual funds. Mr. Buffett believes there are only 2 kinds of investors, good and ignorant. Good investors can invest in their own and make a lot of money. Ignorant investors, on the other hand, should either learn to be good investors or just buy an index fund and forget about it. Not mutual funds. An index is like a mutual fund, but doesn't come with exorbitant fees. I'll explain more about that. I'll explain more about what these are and how to buy them in chapter 2. Preach it, Mr. Buffett. No joke, seriously. I think it's a big thing. I don't think a lot of people understand the difference between mutual and index funds. I think they think they're the same thing. And I gotta be honest, I did too. I was like, they're just funds, right? Like, no. One of them takes apparently about 60% throughout your entire time. So, right, so the other one is like, I don't know the percentage over time, but I know it's like 0.01% of fees comparatively, like yearly. I agree. If you're not going to invest the way the best investors that I agree. If you're not going to invest the way that best investors invest, then you should just buy an index fund and be done with it. Accept your 8% maximum investment return and be happy you got that instead of the 6% you'd be getting if you paid the mutual fund fees. That's 25% change in return on the investment will triple the money in your retirement account in 60 years. For some of you, that's all you're going to need to know. But most of you have a problem that's going to require reading this book and taking more aggressive action because most of you don't have 60 years. Some of you don't even have 10. And so you're going to have to stop being an ignorant investor and start becoming a good investor. Get ready to stand up. The process starts with understanding what stockpiling means for you, and then understanding why you must stockpile or pay a huge price in your life and the lives of the people you love. Prepare to be horrified by your potential fate if you don't take what I teach seriously, but also prepare to be inspired by how easy it really is to get rich. And then that's chapter 1. So, if you guys are finding this on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed that little intro read aloud. And don't forget to get your book, read chapter 1. And next week at 2, here on the stream, we will go over my little summary notes and what I found out from what he said in that book and how it's worked out over the years and what the numbers are differently now. And until then, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell icon down below so that way you know every single time I post. Leave a comment down there saying something like, I'm so excited for this book if you made it to the end. And until next time, guys. Bye.